Today we are at Dive Thru. They just opened a new location in St. Albert, so we're gonna go check it out. Let's go. So we are here today at Dive Thru, just opened in St. Albert, and we're here speaking with the owner, Sophie Gray.
Hello, hello.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Awesome. I'm good, thank you. I'm so excited to be here. So we'll start off with you telling us a bit about yourself.
Okay, so my name is Sophie. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm the founder and CEO of Dive Thru. I've also been sharing my life online to hundreds of thousands of followers through Instagram for about 10 years. Personally, I am a pet parent to 2 dogs, Rio and Biggie. I have 3 nieces and 2 nephews, and I talk to my mom every day.
Aww.
What's my overview? There you go.
That's so cute.
Yeah.
So you're very busy, I take it.
Yeah, you know, I am busy, but I really make sure to set boundaries around things so that it's busy but manageable.
That's wonderful. So what is Dive Thru?
Yeah, so Dive Thru, or at Dive Thru, we are on a mission to ensure no one struggles alone. Through our in-person studios and online platform, we connect today's generation with a modern therapy experience. So what that means is we're ultimately what you would know as like a mental health clinic, but we're really looking to take more of a modern approach by really creating a relatable, approachable space and using technology to make the experience of going to therapy really seamless.
And so what was the inspiration for starting Dive Thru?
Yeah, so I've struggled with my mental health my entire life, from unfortunately struggles with self-harm, suicide attempt, to workout obsession and eating disorder. And as I tried to get help, I was really struggling, but I was also really struggling navigating the mental health system. I had so many questions. I didn't know, what type of therapist titles were, what type of modalities, how do you even find a therapist that has actual availability? And it took so much work for me to actually get help. And so when I finally did get that help, I was like, okay, this needs to be easier. There needs to be a way to remove all of the barriers to accessing care. So Dive Thru is really founded from that lived experience with my own struggles, but also my lived experience with struggling navigating the system as a whole.
So it's really personal to you then?
Yes, absolutely. And I think for me, having that lived experience, I really want that understanding to be baked into every element of your kind of touch points at Dive Thru, of really taking that, putting myself in the person's shoes, sitting on that couch, how are they feeling, and how can we, make them feel better, not just through the work that they're doing with a therapist, but through the way, again, that they're booking, finding that therapist, being at the space, getting a snack, whatever it might be.
Just hearing the passion that you talk about this with, it's very inspirational, and I think really resonates with a lot of people, especially because when you're struggling, I think one of the most difficult things to do can be asking for help. And so when the process in getting that help is really difficult, it almost is just like weighing you down even more. So providing people an easier access to all of this care is so helpful.
Yeah, and I feel like that's what should be happening. And I think it's kind of surprising that there's so many barriers to accessing care that just don't have to be there. And if we can just make it simpler, and I think really also more approachable. I think that was a big issue that I really struggled with, is when I was looking for support, everything was just so clinical, and I didn't see myself reflected in that care. And I really think one thing I'm really excited about with Dive Thru is us being more approachable in the way that even the language we use to describe things, the way that we look, that's all really done intentionally to be like, okay, look, you don't have to be afraid to take that very first step, which is, first admitting that you need help and then actually going out and getting it.
The name Dive Thru, where did that come from?
Yeah, so there's really kind of 2 areas it came from. So firstly, when I was in my own mental health journey, I actually ended up having a panic attack on an airplane, and I ended up having to drive across the country. So it was like a 38-hour drive from Toronto to Edmonton, and I had panic attacks the entire time. And during that time, I was so desperate. I was like, okay, I need something, I need to take something, I need to read something, I just need to get over this and get through this feeling. So I remember talking and kind of reaching out to my friend, and I was like, hey, do you have a fix, basically is what I was looking for. And she was like, there's no quick fix for this, it's something that you have to go through. And I really feel like my life up until that point had been so focused on avoiding my struggles and just kind of like walking around them. But it's like, no, you have to go through what you're facing. And that really stuck with me. So when I was kind of coming up with the idea of Dive Thru, thinking of, of the name, at the time, the most popular way to get food was going through a drive-through. So that kind of dates me because food delivery was not as popular as back in 2017. So convenience of doing a drive-through, working on your mental health is not convenient whatsoever. So I was like, okay, working on your mental health is hard. And then this idea of having to really go through what you're going through. So that kind of combining that came into Dive Thru.
It's very fitting, for sure.
Everyone always thinks we're called Drive Thru, so I'm glad to set the record straight.
You heard it here.
Yes.
Dive Thru. There's only one R.
Yeah.
It reminds me, once I was speaking with my friend who, she lived far away, so we communicated via Snapchat videos. But she was going through a tough time, and we were talking about how feelings are things to experience and not things to live with. And just kind of that idea of you have to experience it and feel it, but you don't have to take it with you the entire time, which I think is also similar to what you were discussing as well, of you have to go through the thing to get over it, but you don't have to string it along all the time.
And feelings are not facts. And I think mental health, and if you're struggling with different sort of mental illness, they can really make you feel like that's your reality, when it's an important piece of the journey, but that they don't define you. I think that's a really powerful lesson.
Can you speak a bit about what services you offer?
So at Dive Thru, we have therapy with psychologists and master level social workers. The sessions typically are either 50 minutes or 80 minutes, and you can take them in person or virtually. So right now we have a clinical team of around 40 people. So we have our 2 locations. We have one in Edmonton on White Ave, and then the one here in St. Albert. So our White Ave location has around 20 to 25 therapists. This location has about 6 right now, and then we have some virtual only therapists as well. So when we were starting, we wanted to be really centrally located for our Edmonton location. So we're in White Ave, right behind it in the Ritchie area, which is so nice because we have free parking. That was absolutely necessary for us. I know the anxiety of trying to find paid parking. That was not the vibe. And then for St. Albert, I'm actually from St. Albert, so I thought it would be a fun opportunity to bring the brand to my hometown.
May I ask what the process was like in first creating Dive Thru and first kind of getting it off its feet and starting off?
Yeah, so I actually started working on the company back in 2017. So I started working on it as a journaling app. It was, for me, alongside therapy, journaling played such a really important role in my journey as a whole. So I made this journaling app. It launched in 2018. And then over the pandemic, we really started evolving into more of a psychoeducation platform. So we have courses, articles, different routines, mindfulness exercises, journal exercises. So really wanting to be those really great tools that you can use. And what we found was people were using them between therapy sessions. So that was really exciting to hear that people were using them alongside their therapist. And when we really kind of dug into what our community was wanting, we saw this kind of request and need for this more approachable and relatable mental health space, very similarly to, what I went through is again, not feeling heard and reflected in the resources available. So it really felt like this organic kind of next step for us to branch into actual physical spaces.
So you have the physical spaces as well as therapy available online. And why do you think it's important to have both a physical space as well as a virtual space available?
Yeah, absolutely. So I feel with the in-person, I think a lot of people think in-person things are kind of over, but that's not the case. People, I think, especially for therapy, love having that face-to-face time with their therapist. So it was really important to me, even for myself, I go to in-person therapy to have those physical spaces. But then also for virtual, there's a lot of barriers and reasons people wouldn't be able to access in-person therapy. Say that they're living in a remote location, there may be only a couple therapists available, and they might not reflect their diverse needs. So they're not able to, access a therapist that will actually be able to help them. So virtual, when you're in a province, you can see any therapist virtually. So I really think it helps people find a better therapist match for them. people also could just be really anxious. We do find that we have some clients that actually love to come virtually at first, and then they come in person just to feel more comfortable with the therapist. It's less intimidating. And there are other individuals that have, other physical barriers that may prevent them from being able to come in person. So I think especially with this generation, we want options, and it can be an either or it can be both. So I think, really wanting to give the option for people if they want either option.
And just to clarify, so your in-person sessions, obviously people would have to come in person, but virtually, are those available to people only in the city or province, or could hypothetically anyone request a virtual therapy session?
So the way that it works in Canada is clinicians are registered by province. So right now we operate virtually all across Alberta, BC, and Ontario.
Oh, wow. Throughout this process, I'm assuming that there have been, highs and lows, valleys and hills.
Yeah.
What would you say has been the most challenging aspect of either this process or the work you do or anything like that?
Yeah, I'm definitely an ideas person, so I have 100 ideas all of the time. And I particularly think for our technology, I'm really excited about the way we're using tech to make the therapy experience easier. And it just takes time. So I think really managing that process has been really challenging, to be like, okay, I want all of these features. Our clients are requesting these features, and I want to be able to do everything yesterday. And that's just unfortunately not the way that the world works. So I think really navigating timelines, being someone that wants something done immediately, does not work. So having to be realistic with that.
For sure. I think though, obviously I don't know what the clients want, but just seeing your space and the environment that you're able to create here, I think that it's a very impactful space probably for a lot of people, both in person and virtually. So just know you've done amazing.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
And what would you say on the flip side is the most rewarding part or the easiest part of what you do?
Yeah, I think, if I really took the time to sit in and think about the impact we're making in the life of our clients, I feel like I would just be a puddle. For me, when I reflect on the struggles that I've faced, knowing what I needed then and wasn't able to get, and knowing that we're able to offer that to people is just honestly the most meaningful thing ever. I really don't take it for granted getting to play any sort of role in someone's journey. So that is really, really meaningful. And, sometimes I'll hear stories about people's experience, and people will come up to me and tell me things. And that's just, it's just so impactful to hear. And just, again, I could just cry on command thinking about it.
That's so sweet. Well, we don't want you to cry, so I'll move on. Why would you say therapy is important, or who would you say therapy is important for?
Yeah, I think, anyone can benefit from therapy. I think a misconception is that, either you don't have a big enough issue or your issue is too big. And, there may be certain circumstances where more support is needed. But I think it's worth trying. I think, it's something that can help you work through something small, help you work through something big, and also can evolve as your needs evolve. So I really think, therapy is worth trying for everyone. And I'm very much a pro-therapy type of person.
Yeah, I feel as though therapy will also not only help you, everyone's different, so I shouldn't say anything, but I just mean you never know what something can do for you, until you try it. And so if you put yourself in the position where either it's virtually or in person, if you put yourself in a position where you're able to express yourself in maybe a safer space than what you're typically used to, you might be able to uncover things that you never knew.
Exactly.
How would someone go about making an appointment with a therapist here or virtually?
So if you come onto our website, which is divethru.com, you'll see a link there for our matching tool, which is something that I'm really, really excited about, because the therapeutic alliance, so the relationship between someone and their therapist, is so, so crucial to the success in therapy. So for us, we have this matching tool that takes into consideration 2 areas. So we match on the really tangible. So, you are looking for individual therapy, you're above the age of 18, you're struggling with anxiety. So we take those things into consideration, but then also more of the characteristics and the vibe of what you're looking for. So you can indicate, I'm looking for a therapist, a BIPOC therapist, a queer therapist, I'm looking for a therapist of this gender, whatever it might be. I'm looking for one that's more direct, one that uses humor. And from there, it takes about 5 minutes. We offer up 3 of the best matches for you. You can then really view their profiles. You can see, the area they focus on, why they're offer therapy. There's a video as well. And then you can really easily book. Booking takes about 3 minutes. And then you're able to manage your appointments in the app.
That's so cool.
Yeah, I'm really excited about the matching because I went through so many therapist profiles looking for mine. And, I don't think people know that they can match not just on those kind of tangibles, but also what's the vibe? And it's okay if you only want to go and see a woman therapist. It's okay if you want to see a therapist that aligns with your background, whatever it might be. Again, that therapeutic alliance is so essential, so you can be picky and that's okay.
Absolutely, and I think that would relieve some anxiety in a sense because you know kind of who you're going in and walking in and seeing, and you know that they're going to be able to offer the help that you're really looking for and kind of make the experience a little less, oh my God, I have to do this thing.
Yeah, and I also think our therapists review the matching so that they know, let's say that you put I'm looking for a therapist that has more of a direct delivery, then they can make sure that they're, tailoring that to you. And even, if you start with a therapist that I think people don't think they can offer feedback, but feedback is such a crucial part of therapy, not just the therapist giving you feedback, but you giving them feedback for what is and isn't working. And again, I think that, that relationship is so important and really making sure someone feels comfortable going in, starting, okay, they can see the video, they feel comfortable, this person looks like my vibe. And then in session, if they do work, but then there's some delivery that doesn't work for them, you can provide that feedback.
And then it's a better experience for everyone.
Exactly.
So what would someone expect in a therapy session?
Yeah, so everyone's therapy journey is unique, but what you can expect from that first session is before your session, you'll be provided a consent form and an intake form. From there, you'll come to the space or online. Your therapist will first, of course, introduce themselves, but then they'll walk through the consent form. Informed consent is super important to really make sure they set the realistic expectations of what therapy looks like. From there, they'll get to know you, why you're coming to therapy, what you're looking for, if you have any goals. And then really the first session is really about establishing kind of that mutual understanding of what the process is going to be like, and then looking to kind of establish some goals or kind of the rhythm of how often you should come back. But really the session, when you're kind of returning, looks different for everyone, but you can expect, the space to talk about how you're doing. You can talk about, progress that you've made, maybe checking on things you talked about in last session, kind of following if you had any homework assigned to you, but then really kind of bringing it back to the goals, bringing it back to the treatments. But yeah, everyone's sessions look a little bit different, and it's really tailored to, what you're needing. And the therapist will use different modalities that they practice based on what your specific needs are.
How would you recommend someone prepare for a therapy session?
Yeah, I love that. I think when it comes to preparing, of course, do your intake form, do your consent form. I think the intake is really important because it actually is giving the therapist more background because they often review that before the session even starts. But I think, really reflecting, what is it that you are hoping to get from therapy? You definitely don't need to come in with here are my top 5 goals, but if you kind of have a general sense, or if you actually just have a big list of questions, writing those down so you can feel comfortable to share those with your therapist and really get on the same page. But I think, if you're starting your journey, the great thing also is you don't have to overly prepare. You can just be okay, I think I'm finally ready to take this step, and show up, and your therapist can really help guide you through those next steps. So if you're someone that likes to prepare, do some reflection, think about goals, think about questions. But if that is too overwhelming for you, you absolutely do not have to put any kind of extra work into it.
We've talked about so many amazing and positive things. What would you say is Dive Thru's biggest strength, if you could pick one thing?
Yeah, I would definitely say, our focus on this relatability and really looking to destigmatize mental health as a whole, not just for the people that come here. We're not shying away from having the colorful, fun-looking spaces. We have fun mental health stickers because we really don't want people to feel ashamed of whatever they're going through. And I think a big misconception is that, if you don't have mental health unless you have a mental illness, and that's not the case. Everyone has mental health just like everyone has physical health. So I really am proud of the efforts we're doing, in really normalizing therapy, normalizing mental health conversations. And I hope that, impacts not just people that come here, but kind of everyone as a whole. So yeah, I'm really proud of the way that we're normalizing and really destigmatizing mental health.
Mm-hmm. And I think too, just in this space, it's crazy to me to think that not all spaces are like this. I think it's something maybe I've taken for granted and not realized up until this point. It's one of those things that you don't realize until you're in the situation. And then you're like, oh yeah, it hasn't always been this way, but you're providing people the opportunity to make it and have it better and safer for people if it's what they want.
Yeah, and I think that's an important piece is, our kind of vibe and our approach is not going to be for everyone, and that's totally okay. And there's so many practices that bring something unique to them. And I think my biggest thing is I just want that awareness, and I hope that awareness spills over. And, if you resonate with a therapist elsewhere or a space elsewhere, I love that. I just want people going to therapy and getting the help they need, even if that's not coming to Dive Thru.
Where do you hope to see Dive Thru in 5 years?
Yeah, I really view our company as a company that can go across Canada and help more Canadians. There's a lot of statistics out there of how Canadians' mental health needs have been unmet. So I'd really love to play a role in, making sure that there is the accessible care across the country. So yeah, I would love to be in Ontario and BC and see where that takes us.
So spreading out a little farther than just Canada, if you so choose, but if you could open a Dive Thru anywhere in the world, where would you want to take it?
Yeah, I love that. I would really love to open one in Scotland. So my parents are Scottish. I grew up going there almost every year. So I would love to bring it home to Scotland. I think very different kind of cultural viewpoints on mental health as a whole, and I would love to see the progress just everywhere that we're more accepting. So I would love to do that and then go with my parents and visit the location.
Oh yeah, that would be incredible. I went to Scotland for the first time in February.
Oh, it's so beautiful.
It's amazing. Yeah. So one day you'll get there.
Yes. Yeah.
And then last question, what would you say is the best piece of advice you've received throughout your life?
Yeah, I think the best piece of advice that I've received is everyone's the main character in their own journey. And I think that's such a great permission to yourself to kind of let go of the worry of people judging you, the worry about other people's actions, all of that, to really realize they're the center in their story just like you're the center in your story. And I think it just for me, expectations, it just lessens them, and you can really understand someone's decisions, understand just someone else by being they're living in their own story. And I think that's been such a helpful tool for me in my personal life, professional, and to really, respect everyone's own main character journey.
Wow, wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So when you come into this space, this is our receptionist area. Wanting it to be nice, fun, and colorful to really kind of set the vibe from the beginning. So you'll come in, you'll check in. We have a little spot where you can take your shoes off. I made this artwork, which I am very proud of. Yes, yeah, beautiful. Thank you. So then we have a private waiting room. For me, it's really important for people to feel comfortable. So we have a snack station where you can help yourself to a drink, a snack, some stickers, and take a seat. Really wanting the room to be private, wanting you to be able to help yourself to snacks. I know when, someone would be like, oh, do you want a water? You might want one, but you don't have to ask for one. So this, you can help yourself and not have to worry about anyone watching you. Then we have 5 therapy rooms all the way down here. So each room features a 3-person couch that's super cozy. So you can, have your feet up, sitting cross-legged, whatever you need to get comfortable. We have some fidgets in each of the rooms, so if you want to be moving your hands while in session, there's something fun for you to play with there. And then of course a box of tissues, very necessary. So we have very colorful bathrooms, little sayings on the mirrors, and then just really colorful backgrounds, so making it just a lot of fun. Yes, and that is our space.
We have stickers!
We just finished up a dive through. Oh, my sticker fell.
Embarrassing.
Oh no.
This says, what does it say? In my anxious era.
Mine is fueled by iced coffee and anxiety.
And then this one is, your email did not find me well. Period. Hate
Facts.
emails.
And my other one says emotional support water bottle. Gonna give it to my sister because I'm so sweet, so nice.
She's a nice person. If you're thinking of going to therapy, I genuinely think you should go here. I was like, maybe I'll go here. Couches are super comfortable. Atmosphere is great. I mean, we met 2 of the people that work there and they were absolutely amazing, super sweet. Good vibes just all around. Like,
I was gonna say, especially people our age, people any age are more than
Yeah.
welcome to go. But the space is so colorful and bright and welcoming and feel safe. And I don't know if the colors were intentional, but they feel like calming, like it's vibey. It's very very vibey. We haven't done the matching therapist test, but that's a really great option for you folks if you are in need of one. So yeah, Dive Through, check it out.